I think I'm frozen. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay, guys, I don't know what's happening, but every time that I happen to come live on Facebook, it's freezing on me. And in the background, it's perfect, right? So I'm going to try to continue. Once again, this happened during the summit as well. It was so nerving, and especially because we had a recording as well, but I still seem to be frozen, always in the weirdest positions. So let's give it a minute. I'm going to try to refresh now. And here we go. Hello?
Hello?
All right. I'm still in slow motion. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys can at least hear me if you're seeing me in slow motion. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Wake Up America. And we have a very special guest today. We're going to be talking about a very important topic, how to find your voice, and especially how to find your creative voice. We'll be right back in 1 second. All right, well, sorry about the delay, but we're here. I think we're going to make it safe and sound. So I want to introduce my guest today. I have with me today, Allie Oliver. Hey, Allie, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, in spite of all the technical difficulties, huh? That's hilarious.
Technology.
It's okay, but we're going to get through this. All right, so, well, you guys know the drill. Okay, what we do here in Wake Up America is we bring an entrepreneur onto the hot seat and we talk to them and we bring them back to their younger years where they were facing their biggest challenges, and they talk about how they overcame those challenges to become the entrepreneurs that they are today. And so with no further ado, we're going to start with Allie. So Allie, it's time to spill the beans.
What was that?
I said it's time to spill the beans. So let's talk about your biggest challenge as a youth.
I think one of my biggest challenges when I was little was I never felt smart enough. I learned differently than the other kids in my class. You know, it took me a lot longer to memorize and understand and connect things. I was more of a visual kid, and you know, in most schools they don't really teach that way. So, you know, I remember going home and like crying in my room because I was so stressed out. Yeah, so I think that was really one of my biggest challenges, and I was really shy, which didn't help because I didn't really know how to communicate with people.
Yeah. And do you think that your shyness had to do in part with the fact that you thought you didn't learn the same
Yeah.
as other kids? Yes, because I think there's always a correlation. I want to get to that later, but okay. Yeah. Okay. So then let's talk about so how old were you when this was going on, and how did you start dealing with it?
Uh, it's like probably like early on, really, in middle school mostly. Um, and you know, it, I had to spend a lot of time memorizing stuff and rereading and, you know, just like pushing myself. And what really helped me cope is the arts. You know, I used to write a lot of poetry. Um, I took photos and listened to music and would sing. I took ballet and drew. So it was kind of like the arts were my escape to my school reality. Like learning was just, you know, when I got frustrated, I just went to those things. And it was really where I think I found who I really was. Because I could connect and understand art, the arts.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, the school system only has measures only one type of intelligence, and we already know that there are 5 types of intelligence, and that there's kinesthetic types of learning. So some people are more audio, some people are more visual, some people are more touch sensitive, hands-on. So, we have to take these things under account. And I'm so glad that now we're becoming more aware of this stuff, because we'll be able to help young children feel more comfortable and learn in different environments. But one thing that you mentioned that is really good is that you found a way, because I feel like a lot of kids nowadays, and for the parents and kids that are listening, when you find yourself in any situation, if you notice everyone that's usually going through a challenge, you have 2 choices. You can either just give into it and have the type of mindset that, to think that there's nothing that you can do, or you can do like what Allie did, and what a lot of people that end up finding themselves in the process is to push past it and try to find a source or an alternative. Try to find something that is, I guess, an escape, but I would say a positive escape, because we could turn into addictions. It could be video games, it could be porn, it could be even drugs, it could be a lot of things. But you chose something healthy. How did you do that? Was it a coincidence? Did your mom get you into something? Like, how did you fall into the arts? How did you know to do that?
Well, I know, like, my mom was a crafter. She sewed, and she just made crafts all the time, and my dad was into music. So I think just watching the 2 of them, music, I think, was my first love as a kid. So I think it was just like, it was a natural thing. I just went to it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think I even knew why. I think I just knew that's what I was meant to do.
Right. It just felt right. And you're very fortunate you happen to have found something. So did that help you at all, like finding like the music and getting into art and poetry? Did it help you the years coming along when it came back to school settings, learning, relationships, or anything like that? Was there a shift that happened as
I
time
think, well,
went on?
at the time when I really struggled too was when I was in a private school. So there were also strict rules, and um it was just a lot more difficult. But when I went into the public school, I mean, there were challenges in that itself, but um I think it did help me. The arts definitely, I joined a marching band when I went into high school, and the regular school, and that really helped. So
And
yeah.
how did it change, I guess, your relationships? Because I mean, we've known each other for a while, over 10 years.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years. So I've also seen you evolve as an artist. I remember we met on MySpace and you
Yeah.
were doing music.
Yeah.
Remember, you were singing in French.
Oh, that's right. Oh my goodness.
so yeah, so I have seen your progress. I've seen like the Allie Oliver turn into what she is now, and even relationships and everything. So how did that go? How did you start developing relationships, and how did you start finding your voice? As in now, let's talk about like your talent and finding your voice, as we both know, because we've both talked about how difficult it is sometimes when we need to speak up, we need to like set boundaries. We need to separate ourselves from certain circumstances. But when it comes to people who are shy and introverted, like we're born naturally. I know no one thinks I am, but I am.
Yeah.
So how did that process begin? How did you start finding your voice there?
I think really, like, in terms of like the arts, just the more I got into it and the more I did it, that was like a confidence that was built inside of me. And that really helped me. In every relationship you go with, you learn something, you take something away. So, my personal relationships, like with my husband now, like, I'm so thankful I met him, because um he's also an artist as well, but he has just totally encouraged me and inspired me. And it's just like, having a good network of friends, like you and others, just for a long time, and being encouraged. It's really just, I think, having had I feel really blessed to have really good friends and a good network of people to keep pushing me along when I get down, or challenge
Yeah.
me to do new things.
Yeah.
So
No, and that's true. It's we can have a lot of friends, but I personally find, just like you, that I find more joy in the friendships that encourage me and that challenge me a little bit. Because sometimes we get a little coddled, and we say we don't want to do this, and everyone's like, oh yeah, it's okay, don't worry about it. Then you don't get challenged, and sometimes you need, we all have fears, so sometimes we need that little motivation, that little push. And when we go to that person and we don't get it, then we're like, so it is very important, guys. Remember, they say, and it is true, you are the sum of the six people that you hang out with or that you associate with. And I remember when you and I met, you had just gotten out of a relationship or a divorce.
divorce. Yeah.
And what would you say? I know that I know this relationship, but so
Yeah.
that the audience can understand, like, how was that relationship then? What did you learn from it, and how has it made a difference in this relationship? Because I know how great this relationship is.
Yeah.
And to give hope to those who are in a bad relationship, to know that don't be afraid to walk out. Sometimes we're so afraid, but look, when you are true to yourself, look at Allie. She has one of the most beautiful relationships that I have seen in a lot of my friends.
I think coming out of my first uh marriage, it was really difficult because again, I started to struggle with some of the things. You kind of go back to some of the things, like not feeling good enough, or not feeling smart enough, or pretty enough, or whatever. And it really just took time. And I think it was really through meeting my husband Josh now, just learning what it's like to be loved and accepted for who I truly am. I don't feel like I have to be a model, or I don't feel like I have to be something other than who I am. And that's
Exactly.
I think that's been one of the most freeing feelings.
Yeah. Um, but I want to talk about that because that's a very, very important topic, because I would say over 50% of young girls go through that. And it's a problem with self-image, identity, and especially now young girls. I mean, with social media, it gets so difficult and so burning. But then there's also a lot going on with relationships.
Mhm.
And so the feelings of self-worth is something that a lot of us struggle with. So what would you say was the biggest problem back then? Was it that you didn't know how to choose the right relationship, or was it that you didn't know how to find your voice to communicate what you were saying? What do you think was the biggest problem back then compared to now?
I think I was just really naive, personally. I think I thought I knew, but I didn't. I didn't really know what a good relationship was, and now I do. Now I do.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's a really fantastic point. So were you happy in that relationship?
In a first relationship,
Yeah.
I was for a period of time, and
Mhm.
then things changed, and um, yeah.
And you thought that it was normal? Is it because did you share your experiences with someone else, or did you keep it to yourself, or was everyone else around you? Like, because I know how that happens sometimes. We're in something so long that it's normal to us, but it's actually not normal.
Right.
So
I did have a group of friends that were supportive, and I think that really helped me get through, and to see that I wasn't crazy for some of the things that I thought, and they were there to lift me up to remind me, hey, look, you are good enough. Maybe not for this guy, but you're good enough for somebody else. And that's okay. You know, sometimes things just don't work out. And um,
Exactly.
yeah, and things always end up working out. I mean,
Yes.
you might not see how they're going to work out, but I really believe that they do.
Yeah, sometimes we don't understand why something is happening.
Mm.
We're in a situation, we're going through pain, and we don't understand because, of course, we cannot see the lesson yet. We cannot see the reason why something that feels so bad could be good for you.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I mentioned this repeatedly because it made all the difference in my life. Like, this is a tool that anybody can use. Whenever anything is going on, if you just switch the phrase and stop thinking, oh, this is happening to me, and you start saying, this is happening for me, your brain all of a sudden switches, because what your brain is there for is to help you find a solution, is to help you find a way out. It wants you to succeed. So if you say that, why is this happening to me? Your brain immediately says, oh, well, because last week you went out and you made that huge mistake. Don't you remember? And so they probably saw it and now they're judging you because, and your brain will just find reason after reason. And if you just sit there and listen, it'll do it all night. I mean, think about it. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. So it can go on.
We can drive ourselves crazy.
Exactly. It can go on forever, like literally. So when you do little things like that, and these are called like little hacks. So instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening for me? Your brain's like, okay, well, if this is happening for me, then there's got to be something in it for me. And that already changes the entire scenario. Because a lot of times things happen, but it's not what's happening, it's how we react. And it's the perception that we have. It's the story that we're telling ourselves. So Allie, what would you say now is the most important thing? Like, what is the glue in your relationship now? Because now you have the perfect relationship. So what would you say is the glue that keeps you guys together?
Love.
Yeah, but there's a saying, you said love, right? There's a saying in Spanish that says, with you under a bridge, I don't know, I don't remember, but basically a lot of people will say, no, love is not enough. Love is not enough. So what would you say is the secret that keeps you guys close? I think you already mentioned it before, but
Well, we do share a lot of commonalities. Like, we're both artists, and so like Josh is a comic book cover artist, and I'm mostly a music album cover artist. You know, so it's like we have differences, but he can encourage me, and I can encourage him, and yeah, and he's really goofy. Like, I will say that after my first marriage, I was praying. I was like, okay, the next, if I ever get married again, I need a clown. I need a clown. So
well,
laughter and love.
that's great. And how would you say your communication is like compared to like your other relationship? Um,
There's still challenges like in every relationship, but I just feel like Josh gets me way more. He understands me, and I just don't feel that judgment that I felt before.
So if you had, as far as relationships go, if you had something to tell a little girl, like a teenager that is maybe has a boyfriend, he's not treating her that good, and she's afraid to lose him, but she doesn't feel good about herself, or what would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
I would say value yourself. Don't let someone else tell you what you are or what you can be. Um, we know ourselves better than anybody else. And if someone is going to treat you not well, then I would consider even moving forward. I would just cut the ties. And as painful as that is, move on, because there are people that are a better match.
Yeah. I
And
know there's 7 billion people on the planet, right? The
yeah,
one doesn't is not a good term. The ones should be.
yeah. So, everyone has their match. So,
Yeah, but that is a good point. That is how you start developing self-worth. A lot of people think that some people are born brave, some people are born confident or, courageous, but it's not like that. I mean, and we're going to talk about your career, but I believe that all of these are skills. And as skills, you have to develop them. It's like when you're learning to ride a bike, when you're learning a new language, when you're learning anything on the computer, whether it's software, it takes time, right? It takes time. But if you notice, when you get good at something, how do you feel? You feel good about yourself.
yeah.
Okay, so that is how you start developing your self-esteem. So if you want someone to love you, if you want someone to treat you right, the first thing you have to do is love yourself and treat yourself right. And how you start doing that is by what Ali said, doing the hard stuff. If someone is not treating you right, and it shocked me to know that 36% of teenagers are or have been in a violent relationship, in a physical relationship. Isn't that shocking?
Wow.
It's shocking to me. So for all of you guys hearing this, that's not acceptable and it's not okay and it's not normal. Actually, that's what's considered a toxic relationship. And if someone doesn't value you enough and treats you that way, you have to value yourself because you know what? Don't let that person that can't see your worth because they can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Right.
So now let's talk about your career because the flow has been going like this with everything. Everything have been slowly and steadily rising, relationships and career. So you started with music and now you're doing what?
Graphic design mostly. Yeah.
Exactly. And so how did you start your business? And let's talk about the challenges with that. Like, was it difficult at the beginning? How was it?
I think one of the hardest challenges when you first start out are just building clientele, like getting the word out there of who you are and what you do, and really just trying to figure out what you're doing, because sometimes you think you know what you want to do and how you want to do it, but when you start doing it, you realize you've got to change your whole approach.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's a good point though. That's a good point because some people get very discouraged if they say, well, I think I want to do this, and they start down this path and it doesn't turn out that way, and they get very, very discouraged. But I mean, think of Thomas Edison. I mean, some people say it was the 1,000, some people say it was 10,000, right? It doesn't matter. Even if it was 1,000, like that was 1,000 tries. So if you tried at something, and it wasn't your forte, just, veer to the right and find something else. There you go. That's one thing that you're not going to do. But actually, finding out what you don't want and what you're not good at and what you don't want to do is the start of finding what you want to do, who you are, and where you want to go. Because how did you find yourself? How did that start? And how did you gear that way?
ask that again.
How did you find your way? How did you start?
Just by doing, just by doing. And I never had a mentor. I never had anyone telling me this is the way to do it. This is what you do. This is where you go. This is who you talk to. It's just sort of like fumbling my way through to figure it out. And along the way, I've met some really awesome people that have, sort of mentored me, I guess you would say, in a way. But it's just, for me, it was just fumbling away. Fake it till you make it sometimes.
So true. So true. So true. But I know because I remember there were times when we would talk about how to find clientele. Oh my God, I need more clients. I need this. I need that. And sometimes it got so hard. Was there ever a time that you thought, man, like maybe I should get a job or,
I've thought there have been times about giving up, but and then it's funny because it's like when you get to that point, all of a sudden all these other opportunities start opening up. And it's kind of like a reminder, no, you don't give up. Keep
Exactly.
at it, and it's for me, a lot of people talk about success with like millions of dollars and everything you have from, your career, but for me it's not about money. It's just being able to do what I love and be able to live, like eat and survive. That's totally awesome to me, because when you love what you do, you're in a better frame of mind. You're able to be more of an inspiration, I believe, because you're in a good place. Not that every day is easy,
No.
but
Well, no, life is hard. I mean, if there's anything we know, that it's all about challenges. So even when, because it's a good point what you're saying, because some people think, well, you're doing what you love, and then you're in a great relationship, so forget you. Your life is great, and it's not right. And or some people even think that way, and even celebrities, even the old president, everybody has challenges. That's part of life. I really feel like life is learning how to overcome the challenges. It's overcoming the mind. Like that's the whole game. I swear. Like that's the whole game. But I'm glad that you said that you stuck to it, because I know that a lot of people think that success is meant just like that, and it's not. So you talked about pushing yourself, right? When you talk about that, like give me an example of like what you mean, because I think that's very important for young people to understand.
well, learning new things. Like, I think, one of the things I wanted to make sure I mentioned today is that it's okay to learn. It's okay to ask questions. And no matter what you're doing, whether you've done something for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, there's always something that you're going to learn. And you have to be okay with that. You can't have this mindset of, oh, I feel awful, I'm a horrible person, I'm just not smart enough because I can't figure this out. Well, no one can figure everything out, so just like I came to the point where I realized that asking questions is good, learning is good, and I love learning because there are so many things you discover as you learn, not just like factual things, but you learn things about yourself. And yeah.
No, but that's true. Um, I think that the most successful people in the world are the ones that are life learners. And that's a big mistake that we have like in society nowadays, that we have academic school, and then once academic school, what does everyone say? Oh my God, put the books away. I'm so glad I'm done with that. When
No, I want to learn
right?
more.
No, it's like, no, it's the opposite. And actually, if you really want to be happy, finding joy in learning, finding joy in that research,
Mhm.
like finding something that you really like, right? That it's a really exciting feeling. Like it really is a really rewarding feeling. So it's getting in the habit of developing that like inquisitiveness, that curiosity, and that curiosity in itself will serve as motivation for you. So like Ali said, take time to sit there and do research. So let's say there's something you want to do, research it, read about it, get books, read about people who have done it. There's no better way of learning about something than following in the footsteps of someone who already successfully, did it. I mean, isn't
And
that
never be afraid to even email people. I've emailed people and asked questions, and even when I used to do interviews on my blog, it's like you might get a million no's, and only a few handful of yeses, but that's okay, because the few that respond are going to be the ones that you want to pay attention to.
exactly? And no, you mentioned a really good point. It's continuing and not being afraid. Sometimes we get afraid, and so we back off, just to be like everybody else, because we're afraid of being different, we're afraid of standing out. But then, you know what the problem with that is? There's two big problems when you do that. The first one is you're selling yourself out. And you know what? you might pretend like you're okay and everything's okay, but inside your higher self, that little intuition, that little voice inside feels disappointed because it knows. And so that's how you start losing your self-respect. That's how you get that low self-worth, that low self-esteem, because you know what? You're letting yourself down. But then the second and most important thing that happens is you're shutting your people out. Because if you would actually do like what Allie says and just wait and hold out and find those few that relate to you, well, guess what? You just found your tribe.
Yeah.
So who cares if you're hanging around with 25 people who are not your people, who you don't even like what they like? You're just pretending to agree and to like and to be a part of that. Isn't it better to be with the 2 or 3 who actually share your ideas, who actually value you?
Yeah.
Right? I feel like it's actually 1,000 times more valuable. So I hope you guys are listening to all of this and taking notes. And like Allie said, self-awareness. Do you journal? I ask this to everybody.
I do. Not every day, but I do. Like it's more of a monthly thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But I do. And it's good to look back and just see, you know, you look back and you see how you were feeling and then you think, why was I feeling that? Everything worked out just fine, or
Yeah. It's funny because we do that. We're the only creatures in the world that can think of the future and that can imagine a future, right? Because of the huge frontal neocortex that we have. But because of that, we tend to worry, because in thinking of the future, we start thinking of all the alternatives. And then since our brain is primarily negative, it has that negative bias, we turn into worry wards. But honestly, out of all the things that you've worried about, and I love asking people this, how many of them have come true?
Not much.
Right?
It's not worth to worry, really.
It's not worth to worry, guys. That's exactly my point. Usually everything we worry about, they say it's about 82% of the stuff that we worry about never happens. You know what it is? You're spending 80% of your time worrying about stuff that's never going to happen.
When you could be spending that energy and time being productive and positive.
And actually thinking about, well, what am I worried about? Well, how can that not happen? Making it not happen, or focusing on what you want to happen actually is the best advice we can give.
Yeah.
That's the best advice we can give you.
You pick it and you go for it.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys got a lot of stock from everything that Allie said when it comes to relationships, when it comes to finding your voice and speaking up, although it's hard, but it's important to do so. And when you're not feeling right, when you're feeling like you're not enough, when you don't feel like you belong, don't give into that emotion. Do what Allie said, and what a lot of people that have gone on the show do, is try to find an alternative. Try to find something. Try to find something positive that you could put your time and effort into. It could be your escape, but make it a positive escape, not an addiction. It's actually going to make things actually worse for you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for today's episode of Wake Up America. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Let us know what you guys think. We always love hearing from you and knowing where you guys are from. That encourages us to keep on coming on here live and doing the show. So I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday and rest of your week. And we will talk to you guys soon. See you later.
Bye.